Talks have been underway in Qatar's capital Doha between senior US and Taliban officials. It's their first face-to-face meeting since the militant movement seized control of Afghanistan. With most of the votes counted in the Czech Republic's election, the future of the current Prime Minister, Andrej Babiš, is in question. The results could open the door for a rival majority alliance from the second and third place groupings if they choose to work together. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has vowed to uphold democracy and freedom at home amid growing tensions with Beijing. Responding to a speech from President Xi saying that reunification with China is inevitable, Taiwan's leader was defiant as she marked National Day. And Lebanon has been plunged into darkness after its electricity grid shut down, leaving the country without power.
Chinese President Xi Jinping vowed to achieve reunification with Taiwan at a ceremony commemorating the 110th anniversary of his country's 1911 revolution. Taiwan reacted sharply to Xi's remarks.
祖国完全统一的历史任务一定要实现，也一定能够实现。
Xi criticized what he sees as moves to seek Taiwan's independence. He said reunification by peaceful means would best serve the interests of the Chinese nation as a whole, including Taiwanese people. He resolved to adhere to the one country, two systems principle.
台独分裂是祖国统一的最大障碍，必将遭到人民的唾弃和历史的审判。
A spokesperson from Taiwan's presidential office said dominant public opinion there clearly rejects China's one country, two systems principle. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council condemned the fact that Beijing has not ruled out the use of force. It said China's stance completely ignores the doubts and opposition of the Taiwanese people. It added that Taiwan's 23 million people have the right to decide their future. Top U.S. and Chinese trade officials have met in what is seen as the first steps in re-engagement between the world's two largest economies. Included on the agenda was China's purchases of U.S. agricultural products and its industrial subsidies. U.S. Trade Representative Katherine Tai held a virtual meeting with Chinese Vice Premier Liu He on Friday. The U.S. government says Tai asked China to steadily implement the Phase 1 deal struck in January last year with the former Trump administration. Under the deal, Beijing promised to buy more U.S. farm goods. Tai also conveyed concerns about structural issues, including what the U.S. calls China's excessive state subsidies. For its part, the Chinese side says it asked the U.S. to lift sanctions and abolish additional tariffs of up to 25% on Chinese imports. Beijing also says it explained the country's industrial policy. The move is seen as an effort to counter U.S. criticism of Beijing's industrial subsidies. Earlier this month, Washington announced a new policy on trade negotiations with China that places greater emphasis on dialogue. Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping have agreed to hold online talks by the end of the year. The tech giant Apple has filed for an appeal with a U.S. court in an antitrust case brought by the developer of a popular online game. Apple and Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, have been in a legal battle since the technology company deleted the game from its App Store. The deletion was in response to the game maker's move to start its own payment service in a bid to avoid Apple's billing system that charges up to 30% of sales in commission fees. In September, a federal district court in the state of California ruled that Apple's policy of prohibiting app developers from steering consumers to outside payment methods was anti-competitive. It ordered Apple to review its App Store rules. Apple has appealed the ruling and asked for a stay on an injunction to review the rules until the lawsuit is concluded. Experts say Apple cannot afford to make any concessions on commission fees from game app sales, as they comprise a sizable source of the tech giant's income. The coronavirus situation in Japan appears to be improving. The Tokyo metropolitan government confirmed 82 new cases on Saturday. That is the lowest number recorded in the capital this year. New infections are also trending downward nationwide. Over 25,000 new cases were reported daily in August. At the peak of the fifth wave, the numbers have continued to fall since the state of emergency was lifted 2 weeks ago.
While we try to keep the number of infections at the current level, economic activities must be restored gradually and with caution. We must try to strike the right balance.
A sense of normalcy is starting to return now that the state of emergency has been lifted. That is prompting more people to get out and about this weekend. Spectators flocked to watch a cycling race in southwestern Japan. They were asked to present proof that they were fully vaccinated or had tested negative for the coronavirus.
I feel safe because the organizers thought of ways to ensure that people were vaccinated.
On Saturday, a zoo in Tokyo started allowing up to 6,500 people to visit per day. That is more than triple the number previously permitted. Visitors were eager to see Xiangxiang. The giant panda was born at the zoo 1 year ago.
I'm happy to see the zoo full of visitors again.
Twin giant pandas were born at Tokyo's Ueno Zoo in June. They were given the names Xiao Xiao and Lei Lei on Friday. The zoo says the twins will make their public debut in January. A group of evacuees from Afghanistan has arrived in Japan. They are staff members of the Japanese Embassy and the Japan International Cooperation Agency and their families. Tokyo worked with the Qatari government to get them out of the country. Qatar has a relationship with Afghanistan's ruling Islamist group, the Taliban. The 53 people flew to Qatar on a civilian airplane earlier this month. It was the first time the Japanese government has used a civilian plane to evacuate local staff. Officials say they appear to have no health issues. The Japan Football Association says its Saudi Arabian counterpart has apologized for what Japan's captain described as discriminatory gestures by some Saudi fans. The Saudi Arabian team defeated Japan 1-0 in Thursday's World Cup qualifying game in Jeddah. The JFA said the gestures came after the match while Yoshida Maya was being interviewed near the pitch. Yoshida said only that the gestures were unacceptable without giving any details. He said there were also similar acts after the last qualifiers in the country. The JFA said the Saudi Arabian Football Federation has apologized for what happened and has said it will punish the supporters who made the gestures. JFA General Secretary and CEO Suhara Kiyotaka praised the Saudi side for acting quickly, but he called the incident highly regrettable and said it should not have happened. Suhara said he assumes no further action will be taken. He quoted Yoshida as saying he will put his anger behind him and focus on the next match. Experts are proposing that Japanese judges be given the power to order GPS tracking for people on bail. They say the measure would help to reduce the number of cases where defendants try to flee. Justice Ministry officials are weighing the proposal in response to a rise in bail jumping incidents. One high-profile case involved former Nissan chairman Carlos Ghosn, who fled Japan in late 2019 while awaiting trial for alleged financial misconduct. Ghosn made his way to Lebanon in a private jet. Experts say incidents such as this one would be far less likely if judges could order people to wear GPS devices. Under their proposal, defendants who violated their bail terms by entering airports or other restricted places could be arrested. People who failed to appear in court or spent more time outside their residence than allowed would face up to 2 years jail time. Some people have questioned how effective the system would be. They note that ministry officials have said they would not monitor defendants around the clock out of respect for their privacy. Those were the stories for this hour.